In this tutorial we're going to be looking at water icing and how it can be used in a variety of ways with a variety of different cakes in order to add decoration. Water icing is probably something you're already a little bit familiar with. It can be used to decorate biscuits and cakes, it can be used to add colour, design, and can also be used in a practical way, almost like an edible glue so that you can attach other decorative features to your cakes, like these. Unless you're adding colour, water icing is simply icing sugar mixed with water. Fairly straightforward and simple. However, it can be very easy to get the consistency wrong. You barely need any water, so I always start off by putting my icing sugar in a bowl first of all and literally adding a few drops at a time. If you make your consistency too watery, it's very difficult to get it thick again without using an awful lot of icing sugar. Whereas if you make it too thick, it's not too hard to then water it down by adding a few more drops. Now I'm purposely showing you here what happens when you don't mix your icing sugar very well. You see those little lumps of icing sugar? When you bite into that in your cake, that's going to be just a powdery explosion in your mouth, not a very nice one. So the texture isn't going to be pleasant. So you do need to make sure that you spend enough time mixing it together very well to get rid of those lumps. Now I'm showing you what happens when your consistency is too watery. So I just poured a load of water in then. I wasn't really thinking about how many drops that was. And as you can see, I've got a really runny, watery consistency. It's lost its colour, so it's almost opaque and not white, and it just literally runs straight off of the cake. All this leaves you with is a really sticky work surface. Your trusty sieve is going to help here as well, eliminating those lumps of sugar. So you've got a nice smooth consistency to begin with when you add your water. If you use the back of your spoon, you can push through those more stubborn lumps of icing sugar through your sieve, so you're not wasting any. It's just breaking it down and making a nice powdery consistency. Now if you are using any kind of colouring, so you want to change the colour of your icing sugar, just bear in mind that the colour or the gel that you're adding is a liquid, so it's going to affect the consistency. So it might be something that you need to add in earlier on before you've got the right consistency of the icing sugar. Otherwise, if you get the right consistency and then add in some food colouring, you're probably going to end up with a icing that's too watery. As you can see now, the icing sugar is starting to retain its shape a little bit. It's becoming a little bit more glue-like and less watery, and this is the texture that we're going for. And it's a nice smooth consistency as well, no big lumps in it. You can literally just spoon it onto your cake. You might find it helps using 2 spoons, so use the second spoon to scrape off from the first. And this one is certainly holding its shape a lot more. Now, as I said earlier, it acts as a glue, as an edible glue, so if you wanted to add decoration like I have here with some rice paper, you can do so, or perhaps sprinkles, for example, as a way of holding them onto the cake. If you were to try and pour sprinkles straight onto a dry cake, chances are they're just going to roll straight off. So this is where the water icing has a function as well as improving the aesthetics of the cake. It can act as a glue and enable this. You will find as well over time that icing will set and create almost like a shell to it, so that it will hold everything. Speed up that process, you can always get the cake. So there we have it. Remember, the hardest thing is start with tiny drops of water and build up to it. You'll be surprised as you're mixing it how quickly it will change and become thicker. Try not to be tempted to put too much water in to begin with. Once again, you're not actually required to bake the cakes for this practical, but if you want to, you can. Our Pinterest page has got some great recipes for you to try if you needed some inspiration.